Hi everybody, I'm Evan Drisner here with Matt and Christa. We're talking a little bit about giving and being generous and kind of what that journey looks like for them and in their lives. Matt and Christa have both been attending the church for a while. Christa longer, probably over 4 years, 5 years we've already started. Pastor John thinks 7 years. And Matt's been here for a couple years. Matt is a physicist. So they thought naturally I would be the best one to interview him. the smartest job ever. Let's get Evan to talk to him. So why don't we start with, you guys just got married this July, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you've been together as a married couple now. This is like your first year. Sometimes I always say finances are one of the biggest struggles. How have you guys brought the idea of being generous and giving into your marriage? Was that talked about before, or was it just kind of natural as a couple that you both just gave?
Yeah, I had a sponsored child before I came in, and I always did the 10% tithe on anything that was my money.
Okay.
Because I didn't make any money. So whenever I got some, I was like, oh, I get to tithe now. It was a kind of exciting thing. Matt was doing tithing when we got together too.
Yeah, I was tithing. I only started working at a real actual job just about a year ago.
Okay.
And I started tithing around that time.
So was it your family? Was your family a generous? Like, did they believe in giving, and were you raised with that, or?
We had, in my family, we had given money to charity quite often, not a huge amount, and not really any tithing, but
So you grew up watching your parents being a giving, generous
Yeah.
family? And
Yeah.
how about you, Krista? Did you grow up in the same kind of environment?
Actually, my mom started us off with, if you've heard of Dave Ramsey's envelope method, my mom did that with us when I was
Okay.
like 4.
Mm-hmm.
I had this little pouch, and it was my tithing pouch, was the money that went in there. So I got to tithe way, way, way from the beginning. I mean, to me, it's always been an exciting thing.
Yeah.
So like, oh, I get to give a gift.
Yeah.
So I've always really enjoyed giving gifts, and yeah. So my dad tithes, my mom tithes. To me, it was just that's what you do,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise, how else is your church going to be supported?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first started here, Mark Morin, he was an intern, and he did a sermon about, and he talked about being a responsible consumer, right? Like, we all come here, and they turn on the power, and the air conditioning, and the heat, and then we have projects and stuff for the kids to use, and that's not free. Like, something's paying for that, and it's families like you, obviously, that are giving. So how has being generous kind of formed your life? Like, now that like looking back a bit, knowing that your parents gave to different charities and they were tithing and they were generous, then you guys now getting your career started, your marriage, can you look back and say that being generous has resulted in something?
Well, I've always kind of thought about how, since my parents started us off tithing younger, I've never really felt like, like you can look at all the money you have and you set aside the tithe and you're like, oh, that's so much money. Why can't I just keep it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get those feelings because I've learned how to do that as a habit, and all of a sudden it's easier to give to other people too.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned to take a lot of joy in like buying things for people. Like, it's someone's birthday and I know that they need this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll go buy it, and I actually find it quite exciting. I really enjoy being able to bless people that way.
Do you think there's a link? Like, can you make a link between being a generous, like in being kind and loving, like you were saying, like taking care of other people, and to money? Like, do you think there's a link for you? Like, is it all together? Does it link? I'm trying to be smart in front of the physicist. I don't even know. I'm getting tongue-tied. But basically, like, being a generous person has shown itself in a couple different areas in your life, right? And do you link that together? Would you say that because you were raised and shown how to give money, that it's easier to then to give out of the kindness of your heart, give gifts to take care of people? And do you think that's been a positive back to you?
Well, I mean, you got there's positives and negatives in terms of, when I say negative, I need to be careful I use that. It's more like, for example, Christmas time. I didn't make a budget with him.
Yeah, I know
And
exactly.
I love to give gifts, and even though I'm careful with our money and I'll buy deals and stuff, you know, my Christmas list is like 20 people or whatever, and Matt's just like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. We need to go take some money out of our savings. Like,
Yeah.
so there's that aspect, but that's more of a communication thing.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's always been pretty generous. He's the type of person we'll be in church and the offering plate goes by, and he's, oh, gotta dig out some change. Like every time the offering plate goes by, and I'm like, honey, put it in an envelope so we can get a receipt. You know, so he hasn't really got to talk as much about his generous spirit. And that's one of the reasons I married him,
Mm-hmm.
is because he's willing to give of himself, and that shows in him giving his money too.
Well, and that's a perfect segue, like, to the idea that if you're willing to give of yourself, which part of that is financial, part of that is emotional, you get back. You got a wife out of that. So
Yes, he did.
What would you say to people to encourage them to start giving in their life and giving of their time? Obviously, like, we're in church, so we're going to talk about help church pay their bills as well. But what would you say to people that are just on that journey of wondering what it's like to live generously?
It teaches me, I know, to trust God, that He will make sure we have food to eat, we have a place to live, we have clothes to wear and things like that, because it's 10% doesn't seem like much if you look at tithing. It seems like a small amount, but when you take everything else out of the paycheck to pay the rent and everything else, it starts to become more significant. But I know I've never felt worried,
Mm-hmm.
because we've got to be scraping the bottom of the checking account and taking money out of savings, but there's never any reason to worry. So it's a really good way to learn to trust God.
Well, and a good example of us getting, how do I say it? Because some good examples of us getting kind of paid back, if you want to think about it that way, is things like, so our parents are generous people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they paid for our wedding. This is a good example of giving of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
They paid for our wedding, and here, you know, so we're willing to do things like, we still have a sponsored child. I know Matt, the Christian Counseling Center is important to us because we did premarital counseling there.
Yeah.
And so Matt took it on himself to give money to them every month.
Yeah.
Like, because they gave so much back to us in terms of wisdom. See, and that also shows, they gave something of themselves, which influenced us to give to them. And now they're going to use that money to go give to other people with reduced prices on services and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's really the beauty of giving to a healthy church, is if you give, you sow, then they can give and they can keep sowing, and really that's the legacy of Christ, right? Seeing things continue and grow and change people's lives. So I think we can end on that. The physicist says he doesn't worry. If a physicist can say he doesn't worry, I think we can all not worry, because he knows a lot more than most of us. So, Matt, Christa, great to meet you. Thanks for taking some time out of this
Thank you.
to share some thoughts on giving, and we really appreciate it. Thanks.
You're welcome.